5 science-backed food hacks that will quietly fire up your metabolism and finally give you the edge in fat loss. They're simple, they work, and most people have no idea that they're missing them. And I highly recommend you watch till the end, because hack 5 is that chances are you aren't drinking your coffee the right way. So let's not waste time and we'll dive straight in with hack 1. I call it the water preloading protocol. All of us underestimate how powerful hydration timing can be, and there's a University of Birmingham study, and it found that adults who simply drank half a liter of water 30 minutes before meals lost about 9 pounds in 12 weeks, and this was without changing their diet. So here's what's happening under the hood. Your stomach has something called mechanoreceptors, and they basically are stretch sensors, and they talk directly to your brain, and they travel through the vagus nerve. Think of it as the highway between your gut and your brain. And when you're drinking water before eating, you pre-stretch those receptors, and your brain reads that food's incoming, and it quietens down hunger hormones like ghrelin, because even before your first bite, we've stretched out these receptors a little bit. And I've seen this countless times with my clients. They come back after 2 weeks and they're like, Dr. Mike, I can't finish my food. It's tough. It feels like my stomach shrank. And the truth is it didn't shrink. It's just that the signaling just started sooner. So here's how to implement this. I want you to drink 2 glasses of plain water. That's about 16 ounces or 500 milliliters, 30 minutes before your 2 main meals of each day. And that's it. The timing is what makes it work. Often, older adults notice that the biggest benefit is that digestion slows slightly with age, and the water stays in the stomach longer, and this will amplify fullness. And if you want to level up, I also recommend eating slowly. Take small pauses between courses. Pacing lets the fullness hormones like GLP-1 and peptide YY catch up, so your brain has time to register that they're satisfied. And this is the definition of low effort leverage: free, simple, psychological. And if you're going to give this a try, let me know in the comments by typing water. I want to see how many of you actually put this into action. And another thing as well is that a lot of us often confuse hunger for thirst. Besides that, all the benefits is that think of water like the oil to your engine. It will allow all the fat loss mechanisms to function smoothly. Hack number 2 is the resistant starch cooling trick. Now, we're gonna move from timing to temperature. Now, this sounds like a food myth, but there's real chemistry here. Biochemistry to be specific. When you cook starchy foods like rice, pasta, potatoes, the heat uncoils starch molecules. And as they cool, those molecules recrystallize in a form called starch type resistance 3, RS3. Your digestive enzymes can't fully break those crystals apart, so fewer calories are absorbed and more reach your colon to feed good gut bacteria. And most analyses show a modest 10 to 15% reduction in digestible energy, and sometimes a bit more if a small amount of fat is present while cooling. So if a cup of rice gives you about 200 calories, cooled rice might deliver about 170 to 180 calories. It's small, but it stacks up. And here's what I tell most of my clients who meal prep to do. Cook rice or potatoes as usual and add a teaspoon of coconut oil or a little bit of butter per cup before cooling. And this can help form a more stable starch fat complex, and store in the fridge for about 12 hours. Reheat, or if you need to eat it cold, obviously reheat, and the resistant starch will survive the reheating. And beyond the calorie reduction, the resistant starch also has this gut metabolic benefit. So how it works is like this. Your microbes, your gut bacteria, ferment it into butyrate, which is a short chain fatty acid, and this will strengthen the gut lining and improve insulin sensitivity. And think of it as a small internal thermostat adjustment toward fat burning mode. And I use this year round, especially during contest prep. Cooling carbs will keep your blood sugar lower and smoother, right? And it's also effortless. And it's such an effortless way to make comfort food feel just a little bit friendlier. And by the way, I also have a video on foods you should eat every day to fight visceral fat. And in that one, I share a rice blend that perfectly ties back into this hack. And I'll link it for you in the description so you can watch it later. But let's move on to hack number 3, protein distribution. Protein is the most misunderstood macronutrient, and people obsess over daily totals, but ignore how they spread it through the day. And here's a lot of potential that's getting lost. So here's what I see repeatedly. For breakfast, people will eat 10 grams of protein, lunch 20 grams, dinner 50 grams. And now 80 grams of protein sounds okay, but metabolically, it's like you're doing all your reps in one set. Now, protein has the highest thermic effect of food. So roughly 20 to 30% of its calories are burned during digestion and processing. But that thermic boost has a per meal ceiling, about 20 to 30 grams. Anything beyond that will yield a more diminishing return per meal. And there's a University of Texas study, and it compared a heavy protein meal to 4 evenly spaced servings. And the balanced pattern delivered greater total energy expenditure over 24 hours, higher muscle protein synthesis, lower reported hunger. And I see this in practice all the time. My clients who have a mid-afternoon protein snack don't raid their pantries anymore. So this is a framework. For breakfast, we want a minimum of 20 to 30 grams of protein. And I'm talking eggs, maybe some Greek yogurt. If you're in a rush, have a shake. For lunch, a minimum of 25 grams of protein. I'm talking maybe some chicken breasts or chicken thighs and some tofu salad as an option. For a snack, another 20 to 25 grams. You can have a shake or a cottage cheese snack, right? And then for dinner, 25 to 30 grams minimum. You can have fish, lean beef, or lentils. And by the way, you can add your carbohydrates. And you've turned one massive metabolic spike into small fires that keep your metabolism burning throughout the day. And this is actually where the concept has come from of spreading the meals. And you can do this in 3 to 4 meals, but the big idea is more so giving your body the perfect amount of protein. Now, frequent protein feeding also can stabilize your blood sugar and also blunt your cortisol swings, your stress hormone swings. And that steadiness means fewer calories, more consistent energy for training and recovery. So that's hack 3. Dial in your protein rhythm to keep your metabolism active and appetite steady. Again, if you must, like the minimum I recommend is 3 meals. 4 meals is like a sweet spot. But even with perfect macros and timing, there's one factor that can completely change how these calories behave when they're in your body. And a lot of people are overlooking this one, and it can make a massive difference. And this is the difference between making steady progress and constant struggle. It's the processing problem, which is hack 4. This is exactly why identical calories can act completely different. And now this is the one that will shock everyone. 2 meals can list identical macros, but behave completely different and nothing alike once they hit your digestive tract. There's a 2019 study, and it was led by Kevin Hall, and it proved this beautifully. So basically, participants alternated between an ultra-processed and a minimally processed diet with the same calories, same sugar, fat, and fiber available. And they could eat as much as they wanted. On the ultra-processed phase, they unconsciously ate about 500 extra calories a day, and they gained weight. And on the minimally processed phase, they naturally ate less and lost weight without being told to restrict. The takeaway isn't just more calories cause more weight gain. We know that, right? It's that food processing changes how your brain and body regulate calories in the first place. Same spreadsheet, different biology. So now you're probably wondering, okay, same calories, why is this happening? The first thing is the texture of the food. Ultra processed foods are soft, they're chewy, and you eat them just faster. Your stomach doesn't get enough time to stretch and send that I'm full signal to the brain. And the next thing is speed. These foods digest super fast. They flood your bloodstream with glucose. They trigger this quick dopamine hit. You feel good for a moment, and then after a little bit, you're hungry again. And finally, let's talk about structure. When food's processed, it breaks down the natural food matrix, which is fiber, water, and plant cell walls. So calories hit your bloodstream much faster than your body can properly respond. And in the study, participants ate about 50% faster when they were on the ultra-processed diet. So it's not about willpower, it's about design. And these foods are designed to be easy to chew, quick to swallow, and hard to stop eating. They're engineered for addiction. And the fix doesn't mean going perfectly clean. It's simply downgrading the level or the amount of processing foods that you're eating, and you can do this one step at a time. So here are some simple swaps that I do myself. You know, I love my protein bars. But I now go for the beef jerky, or like we call in South Africa, biltong, or hard-boiled eggs, right? Instead of flavored yogurts, you can go for plain Greek yogurt and add fruit on there. If you must, do the Dan and Light and Fit, right? That's an amazing one. Instead of frozen dinners, eat cooked real ingredients, right? Each swap should bring more texture and lets your body's natural satiety signals do its job again. I want you to remember one thing from the video, and it's this: food quality will change how you behave with food. Now, let's move on to hack number 5. It's called the coffee timing protocol. Caffeine can either amplify fat burning or it can quietly work against it. And the difference all comes down to timing and when you get it right. So caffeine makes your body burn more stored fat for energy, but when you get it wrong, it can blunt that effect and even interfere with nutrient absorption. There's a 2021 University of Granada study, and it found that drinking black coffee 30 minutes before moderate exercise increased fat oxidation by roughly 29% during the workout. And it's not because coffee melts fat, it's because caffeine blocks adenosine receptors, which frees up adrenaline and noradrenaline to activate an enzyme called hormone-sensitive lipase that triggers the release of stored fat so your body can burn it for fuel. But here's where most people go wrong. If you drink coffee with food, your insulin levels rise, and insulin temporarily shuts off the fat release pathway. So instead of burning fat, your body prioritizes burning the food you just ate. And there's another layer to this. Coffee during the night after meals can reduce iron absorption around 30 to about 40%, which matters if you often feel fatigued or you even have low ferritin levels. So here's the optimal timing blueprint. In the morning, have a black coffee in a fasted state or at least 90 minutes after eating. If you must, have a pre-workout which contains about 200 to 300 milligrams of caffeine, which is the equivalent of 2 to 3 cups of coffee, roughly, let's say 30 minutes before training. And this is what I want you to avoid: coffee with or immediately after your meals. And once people fix this with their coffee timing, they almost notice an immediate difference. Energy feels smoother, their focus is lasting longer, and the 3 p.m. crash that they usually get disappears completely. It's a small adjustment, but it pays off massively. So this is how I want you to bring all of these together. Each one of these hacks work on their own, but when you combine them, the effects multiply. So water will help with your appetite, the protein will boost your metabolism and affect your appetite, and coffee amplifies fat use, and the food quality will also just keep everything stable. So this is what it will look like in practice, right? I'll give you an example. In the morning, a black coffee paired with a 10-minute walk, water preloaded, and I want you to have a protein-rich breakfast. Middle of the day, cooled rice or potatoes with lean protein. So let's say the rice that you cooked the previous day for meal prep, and we want to keep your protein meals evenly distributed. And in the evening before dinner, a whole food meal and slow chewing. And across the day, you're burning more fat through caffeine timing and cold synergy, you're absorbing fewer calories with resistant starch, and activating satiety early with water preloading, really elevating your metabolism throughout the day and letting food quality regulate your intake naturally. Each effect is small on its own, but the biology compounds all the small effects relentlessly. Together, they'll create a steady, low-effort calorie deficit. No counting, no deprivation. These 5 hacks speak your body's natural and native language: the stretch signals, the digestive timing, the gut feedback, the hormonal rhythm, the nutrient structure. And when you align those, fat loss feels natural instead of forced. So after watching, think about how these fit in your day and start there. And maybe it's the water before meals, maybe it's how you're having your coffee, whichever one it is.